No way. I walked past here so many times, dude. That buck's laying 25 yards from my blind. Yeah, this deer has not been dead that long.
In this video, we will be touring one of the most elite deer hunting properties that I've ever stepped foot on. We will be walking through some specific setups that have resulted in incredible bucks being shot, as well as habitat improvements to help you have better hunts, and lots of other nuggets of wisdom along the way. One of the best ways to shave valuable time off of your learning curve is to study other people that have already been successful. Trevor is one of the most accomplished young deer hunters that I personally know, and he shares some incredible insights that he's learned through years of habitat work and disciplined deer management. Follow along, you're not going to want to miss this one. To start off the day, we walked the edge of one of his food plots looking for shed antlers, and it did not take long to get into the action.
Found a lot of sheds in the south. No way. I walked past here so many times, dude. That buck's laying 25 yards from my blind. So this is a buck we named Hollywood. Actually, a neighbor named him Hollywood as a 2-year-old. Just an absolute stud. He was probably a 110-inch 2-year-old. And I've watched him now for 5 years. This is kind of bittersweet, to be honest. But we had a feeling that he was probably gone. I actually had him, the closest I ever got to him, bow hunting out of this blind right here. He was standing right behind us here at 55 yards. I saw him another 5 times throughout the season, and late in the season, one of our neighbors had taken a shot at him. Wasn't sure if he connected or not, and I never saw a picture since that night, so I had a feeling that he was probably gone, and I've been looking for him. I've been out here 3 different times looking for him, and I can't believe we just walked up on him here.
I've never seen a 5.5-year-old buck up close, but this is what it looks like. Freaking massive.
That's what we're looking for.
We just like to find them in October or November.
Yeah.
Not in April.
Yeah. Cool to put your hands on them and at least get closure. There's been a few deer that you chase for years, find sheds off of the deer and know that they made it through, and then the next year they're just gone and you never hear of them again, and you always wonder what happened to them. So at very least we put closure to this deer, so it's been quite a story for 5 years chasing him. So we just put this box blind here. We got multiple 25-yard shots, but I wanted to do something to take their attention off the blind and slow them down for a perfect 25-yard shot. So I actually went and cut down this tree out of the face of the woods here and used a post hole digger, planted the tree, and then I dropped a vine scrape. My vine has since kind of rotted off, and I'll have to replace it this year, but this is an awesome spot where they come out of this dedicated sanctuary, they'll hit this scrape and then continue out onto the food plot and give you a perfect shot opportunity at 25 yards.
Trevor's just kind of showing me around, and he was just starting to say that they are making a bunch of scrapes on this edge right here, and there's a shed. Not quite as big as the last antler you touched.
3 more years.
3 more years.
We're going off out here.
We literally, here's a scrape where we found the last shed, and we were like, maybe we should just keep walking this edge. About tripped on this one.
Check that out, man. That's awesome right there. Looks like it's probably a 2-year-old 8-point.
So Trevor, I think most people in Michigan, that's a hard buck to pass. What do you say to those people that are going to shoot a buck like that more times than not?
I will say that if you can get to the point that you are passing this type of deer, it will pay off. We've seen it time and time again that these deer, especially the ones that drop their sheds here, you will see them next year. Like the fact that we picked this shed up, there's a good chance that we'll see them here next year and have a shot at them.
The other thing that I always think about, and this is the case whether you're friends with your neighbors or not, but I think a lot of times it's always the case of, well, if I don't shoot him, my neighbor's going to. And there's one thing that's for certain. Yeah, that's true. Your neighbors might shoot that buck, but if you shoot him, there's no way he's going to be bigger next year. So if you want to start getting into the better caliber bucks, you got to start passing the good ones to get to the great ones. And that buck right there, you got to start passing bucks like that if you want to find bucks like that on your property that, I mean, not find them, but get bucks that big on your property that are as big as the one that we found earlier.
So this this is an area that I identified a couple years ago. The deer already wanted to bed here, and it's a perfect area that I want them to bed because we're kind of in a bowl here. We got good elevation change that blocks my access coming in from the west side, and really good access all the way around. So I wanted to attract deer to bed here because if they're bedded here and I know that they're going to go out to the main food plot in the CRP, that creates a great line of movement that is very huntable. So came in here, it's not a big area. We did this in about 2 days, so it doesn't take a ton of your time, but this is a 3-year-old hinge cut now, and I definitely see a lot of movement here. If we walk up here a little further, I created a corridor right down the middle, and it gets used like crazy. Put a camera on it, and the does come in here when they get pressured by the bucks during the rut, and they love using this corridor, so we'll check that out. So this is actually, this was already a main travel route when I started looking at creating this bedding area. This is already an area that the deer naturally wanted to use, but this is actually where I started by dropping trees away and creating this corridor here, just thickening it up and making it even nicer, giving the deer side cover. When you drop the trees perpendicular but keep them up kind of high, the deer don't feel trapped because at any time, if they got a predator coming left or right, with perpendicular trees, they can jump the opposite way and get out of the corridor, but it really creates this nice line of movement here. Yeah, look at the sprouts that you're getting, all this new growth that's starting to green up again. All these buds that would have been up 30 foot in the air are now all available to the deer. Really good nutrition, and it's cool seeing the veins that these trees will shoot to keep that tree alive, and this tree will live for years. Yeah, another one of the main ways that you can only control what you can control. There's things that are going to be out of your control, but doing the best with what you do have. One of the things we identified on this farm is that early on we didn't have enough food. So I found an area here that was already somewhat clear, and we ended up renting a bulldozer, coming in for a weekend, and we cleared out an 1.5 acre plot right here, and it's just a perfect little hidey hole food plot that just gets absolutely hammered. So, and it's right off of this sanctuary here behind us. You can see how thick this is. During deer season, we never step foot in here and just allow that to be 100% deer all the time. So kind of try to hunt the edges, plant these food plots to create that line of movement and be able to catch the deer when they're coming out of the sanctuaries. One of the things I wanted to touch on is anytime that you're planning a habitat improvement, like this food plot for instance, you should always be thinking ahead and think, how am I actually going to hunt it? Don't just go in and say, oh, I'm going to rent a bulldozer this weekend and clear out a 1 acre food plot. We had actually identified a tree stand location right here behind us where we could hunt with our prevailing wind blowing away from this food plot. So this, you'll see the food plot actually wraps around our prevailing wind to where from that stand location, our prevailing wind never enters this food plot. I wanted to set it up to hunt that southwest wind. The other thing is, stand access was something that was critical to get in here. If you're going to hunt this close to a dedicated sanctuary, I wanted to be able to get in and out of the stand. So we came in 9 years ago and planted this miscanthus grass for screening behind us, and the hope was that I can get up into that stand and get out of that stand after dark and put minimal pressure on here. It's pretty cool the way it grew up. You climb up into that stand and you can't even see into the food plot when that miscanthus is all green, until you get right into the stand, which means the deer can't see you either. So again, to my point about anytime that you are planning out a new habitat improvement, making sure that you're thinking about how you're going to hunt that habitat improvement and making sure that it integrates with your hunting plan. So I had already identified when we laid out this food plot where my main tree stand was going to be for the plot, but this is going to be mainly a bow stand, which means my effective range is probably out to about 40 yards. So instead of making this food plot a perfect circle or even a perfect oval, it's more like a kidney bean shape. So right here, it pinches down so that I'm 40 yards from my tree stand. So any deer that comes on this plot, if they stay in the plot, they're gonna be pinched down to 40 yards. So paying attention to detail when you're laying out the shape of these food plots to make sure that anything that's in the food plot is within bow range is key. So this has been a very productive stand for us. Behind us we've got what is the sanctuary on this farm. So During the season, we don't go in this at all. And it's not a big space. It's all low ground, kind of swampy. It's only about 12 acres, but we don't really step foot in it. We hunt the edges, and this stand is one example of that. This is a great pinch point where the sanctuary kind of pinches down right here with the cover, and then the deer come out of the cover behind me and they release to the crop fields behind us here at night. So it makes a really great pinch point, and it's been a very productive stand.
There he is, baby blazer. Trevy's hog.
Dude, that's a beautiful buck. That is a beautiful buck.
Oh, dude, he's huge. He's a stud. He's an absolute stud.
Hopefully you got a couple good ideas from this video. There's actually a part 2 to this video where I sit down with Trevor and talk in detail about his management plan and how it's allowed them to have abnormally good deer hunting and consistently kill 4.5-year-old or older bucks in an area of Michigan where most people even struggle to see a mature buck. So if you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel if you're not already. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.